preview.
I'm just not sold that that's a good idea. I mean, it doesn't seem. Yeah, those ARAM changes. Yeah, I mean, I didn't like the buffs.
I don't know.
The changes. It doesn't seem.
Oof. Well, guys, we haven't talked in a while. How you been, guys? I'm here. I'm alive, actually.
What are you checking on?
So, it's just pretty much me.
Shut up. Is it because I'm not in the screen?
I don't think you're in the screen, though.
I'm not.
Do I have to make it larger?
No, because you
make
always
it like this big.
Do not make it bigger.
It
How would that
small?
change what shows?
This big?
Please stop. You're bothering
Why
me.
can't I have some fun with the screen? Guys, he never lets me have any fun with anything.
The problem is not the screen size, it's the fact that you always push
understand
yourself
a joke?
forward. What's up?
I don't think you understand jokes, do you?
Well, I mean, not when they're bad.
Oh, yeah. So you're saying I'm stupid?
Yes.
Oh, my God. But, hey, guys. How you doing? We're just having some banter before we actually get into the topics. I'm just horsing around, obviously. There's been the Mid-Season Cup, Day 1, where it was Group A, FPX, T1, DAM1, and, what was the other guy? FPX, T1, DAM1,
and
FPX? Yeah, that's the teams. Yeah.
Top Esports.
Yeah, got them all. Yeah. So that was supposed to be the hard group for the teams because the other teams that'll play in the morning are going to be JDG, Gen.G, IG, and Dragon X. Those are supposed to be the, worser teams.
Worser.
Yeah, because this was supposed to be having the groups with the winners because a lot of people had predicted T1 to come in and win. It was like
Who predicted T1 to come in and win?
Oh, either you predicted T1 to win or you predicted like FPX to do well.
I thought Top Esports would take it.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, Top Esports literally smashed FPX the last time they played, so I don't even know what you like.
I thought it was gonna be a freaking T1 making it out. They're always usually a pretty safe bet, all things considered.
I mean, I don't think it's saying that they're not going to make it out. I mean, it's only one day.
Yeah.
I think the reality. I think what it comes down to is the games that they lost were based off of poor decisions late game, like Faker trying to backdoor at the end of the game, and getting. I mean, he got a few turrets, but I don't think that was worth it because the rest of the team wasn't doing anything.
Yeah. The narrative coming into this tournament was that the LPL play a lot more faster pace. The LCK are a little bit more like reserved in their aggression. They don't really play like super insanely fast. They're more like usually able to hold off aggression. That's kind of what their thing is. So I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, was it just jitters? Because T1 played pretty well, all things considered.
I mean, they played well enough. I don't think they played really well. I think what it came down to was the fact that
I think Teddy and Effort played pretty well.
I mean, I think Teddy and Faker played pretty well. Effort benefited from having Gragas support the first game that they won. I think he had a pretty solid amount of engages, but for the most part, it was them trying to engage onto Effort, but he was too tanky for them to be able to kill. I think Faker was the primary engage for some reason. I think there's
maybe...
No, there's no... Why is Faker literally jumping into the front line and flashing when he has so much primary... He has so many forms of engage?
I don't know.
I mean, what
was that first game?
It's
right here.
Let me see real quick. Look at this. You right-click on this and see...
You wanted to show me what I was doing wrong?
Mute site so it doesn't make sound.
Oh, you're a genius. Because it was at first... Because this was Top Vert versus Danwon, and I was like, huh. A lot of these games from the LCK seem to be really weird.
What do you mean really weird?
Like, I don't know. Danwon's not really coordinated. Like, a lot of the players do very good things individually, but as a team, they don't really do them well together. That's just me personally. I don't know. Like, they have individually good players. I mean, they definitely look better with Ghost over Nuclear. That's been coming along really well.
So,
I think Naguri has been playing a lot worse. Keeps pushing forward. He doesn't play weak side very well. He only wants to.
Most of the kills that came onto him from diving were from him getting pushed into the side of the turret. If every single one of the deaths from like most of the ganks were from him being inside his own turret and them killing him.
Yeah. I
don't think he really got ganked from being pushed up too often. I think he was exposed a little bit too much in terms of his, like, he has not been laning pretty well. That well. I think he laned moderately well in this specific game. Mm-hmm. I think it wasn't that bad. But for the most part, I think that his team fighting was not nearly as good as 369's. If we look at the Dragon fight that they won, 369, landed an insanely good ult, and they still won that because of the fact that they had really good peel off kind of like what's it called? Peel off kind of composition. Yeah, I think. Let me see.
It's really weird.
That's the one I'm looking at.
Yeah.
It was around Dragon right here.
Yeah. This was the fight where he was like, "Why is Yumi a champion?" Because like you look at where. No.
That was Showmaker's. That was Showmaker's ult. That was one that was. See, Showmaker.
Yeah.
Played extremely well this series. I think he played really well this series or this game specifically.
Yeah.
But I think it came down to the fact that first of all, I think Nuguri was outclassed a little bit in the top lane by pretty much most people in this tournament. Even Kana was putting it down on him for a little bit. And like honestly, he had to get saved from Kana in one of the games by a gank coming in the last second. I mean, Nuguri looked like the worst laning top laner at this so far in the tournament, and that's really surprising to me. It's not like this was the best top lane group. I mean, the Shy's not in here, like a few of the other. It
was Nuguri, Kana, 369, and Khan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Khan was the best laning top laner. I think Khan. If we had to make like a meta, this is the best group. Like the all-star group, we would put Khan at the top lane. I think the jungler, I mean, like that's a big thing for me. I don't think there was any standout junglers inside.
Karsa played pretty well.
Karsa probably was the best jungler in the out of all the teams, but that's not saying much. I don't think his impact was really he played Lee Sin, and he was not as impactful as the enemy jungler at the beginning of the game. All it comes down to is the fact that I think that they were able to beat Damwon because Knight played out of his mind in that series. I mean, that game. On top of the fact that Yumi exists, I mean that really did help them win. Just the fact that she was able to speed everybody up. Every one of their engages would not have worked with any other champion, but Yumi was able to give them give them not only the speed boost but the ability to just really not be afraid of much. He was able to keep Knight alive throughout that entire fight. He kept healing him and giving him shields throughout that entire thing so he wouldn't die to any of them. You remember that big old outplay he did? It was only possible because Yumi existed.
Oh no, it's hard to say. Like Damwon, they looked pretty shaky when the split started.
No, that's only the first day of the tournament. They don't.
No, this is only going till the 31st. They're out. LCK is out.
Oh, it's only one.
Yeah,
game. It was only
yeah.
one
This
day.
group's LCK is out.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was really crazy though. D1, yeah. You guys are crazy.
That's a poorly made tournament.
I mean, it's only 3 days because the season's gonna start very, very soon anyway.
They should have started it earlier then.
They probably should have. See, that's the thing.
That's the dumbest. It's just not a very well made tournament. If it's only you get to play 3
Yeah,
games.
it ends on the 31st. So after the second group tomorrow, or coming up this morning, then you have the semis and the finals after that.
Oh well, I guess we'll see what happens.
But I mean, it shows people you have to be. That's what you want. You want it to be good on the day.
Well, I don't want one game altogether, Joseph.
They got 3 games.
They got 3 games
each.
And if you go first of all, the group stages on the Worlds is 6 games.
Yeah.
But pretty much every situation, you're not used to these teams.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the situation. Like in MSI, you have a lot of games too.
Yeah.
This is you're coming into a tournament with a bunch of teams that you have not met yet for the entire.
But you also got to factor in making this logistically work because they're playing in one stage. They're playing halfway across the world.
It's not logistically hard. It's internet connection, and they're pretty decently.
Korea has really good internet. Actually,
I mean, they're not a very far country spread apart, honestly. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think that it came down to the fact that they wanted they didn't want this to be a big kind of tournament. It was more so just for fun.
You could look at it for fun, but I don't think they do in terms of that.
Yeah, it's not that serious of a tournament because of the fact that there's not much infrastructure inside of it. There's not enough games to put any weight onto enough of it.
But this does show you how strong the teams can be right now.
I don't know. I mean, I think it all came down to all these teams looked evenly matched, and it all came down to the fact that Korea tried to change up their play style. They drastically switched up the speed at which they play the early game.
But when it goes back to the LCK, they're just going to play reserved again.
We don't know. I mean, we'll have to see when the LCK starts back up.
Yeah. I mean,
it all came down to the fact that they tried to make a new kind of situation work in the offseason. That's why they started playing like this, to see against the fastest paced group, the region in the world. They wanted to see if them playing fast paced would make if it succeeds against them, it's gonna succeed against anybody.
Yeah.
That's the reason they tried it out at this tournament. I think the big problem I have with it though is that they made a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes with the Baron calls. I mean, I think they were pushing really hard, and a lot of the games were lost against the Chinese teams because of the fact that they made poorly called Baron calls. Like a lot of the Baron calls were the big mistakes as to what turned the games around. That was 2 of the games lost for Korea. That was just them making 2 hyper aggressive Baron calls. Faker played insanely well. I think he played well. I think the 2, like I don't really think any mid laners played poorly this time besides maybe Doingby.
Even Doingby had a lot of this too. This has like the stacked mid. This like has to be the most stacked mid lane tournament ever.
I mean, just the worst mid laner at this tournament is probably Doingby. I mean, that's probably the worst mid laner at this tournament.
Yeah.
And
relatively,
even then,
quotations mid.
What does relatively mean? What is relatively mid? What quotations? What do the quotations mean?
Relatively
to
weakest
what?
mid.
He
to,
is
to his opposition.
Well, yeah, I mean, like he's an incredibly good mid laner, and most of his good qualities don't come down to laning, which is what I think the weakest part of his gameplay is. Maybe he's not the worst mid laner here. I think that Showmaker actually played better than him, so I do have to put him at the bottom though. Yagao is down there too, but for the most part, I think like this mid lane stat was so stacked at this tournament, and like we saw a lot of them stand out, like a lot of standouts. Knight was a standout, Faker was a standout, Showmaker mechanically stood out in a lot of these games. Like it was really impressive to me. I enjoyed it like a pretty substantial amount.
Oh, well, I mean, because this was Kana's first international tournament.
I mean, Kana played terrible. Kana literally just.
I mean, he's a rookie. People have to give him slack.
I'm not stop giving people slack, man. He might play better in the next season, but right now he sucks.
I know, but I'm not gonna take that one tournament and say this guy's complete garbage.
He wasn't good at this tournament. He was good in one specific game in the playoffs. He was not that great in the season. Like he was one of the top. He was like a top 4 top laner in Korea. He had one extremely standout series in the playoffs, and people gave him a little bit too much credit after that.
I think he made good engages for certain games.
I think he did not, actually. I think he had a lot of really mediocre plays all around the games. He laned worse.
Especially playing Aatrox every game. I mean,
Aatrox is very easy to lane with, and he lost a lot of the lanes. Like,
he got Aatrox and Jace mostly.
Yeah, Jace, he lost a Vladimir matchup. I don't even know how you do that. Like, how does that happen? How do you lose Vladimir into Jace? It just doesn't happen. That's not a possible... Especially once you get executioners, Vladimir just can't exist in the lane. Yet he didn't attempt to push him out of the lane. He didn't attempt on anything. And I'm really disappointed in Kana's play that tournament. Faker played insanely well. I think he
Cuz was a liability. I think
Cuz actually had a pretty substantial amount of early game proactivity.
Yeah.
I don't think,
but it never amounted to anything like Karsa's did. Like Karsa's early game proactivity amounted to something in his team getting a lead.
I mean,
all those Lee Sin ganks he got off.
He didn't really get it. He was actually getting out ganked in his game.
The problem was facing an Olaf.
He was Lee Sin.
What?
Lee Sin literally is one of the most hyper aggressive early game. It wasn't even. Was it Olaf?
I'm pretty sure it was Olaf. Yeah.
I don't remember what stupid Damwon played, but yes, I think he was actually getting out ganked for a little bit. Well, that's just what Canyon does to pretty much everybody, though. But
Canyon just manhandles a lot of people.
He didn't. Yeah, I think I was really impressed with Canyon's play too. I think he made a lot of kind of poor mistakes. He did get outsmited a few times, but for the most part, I think that I really did like the mechanic. Like he was one of the more mechanically, he was probably the most mechanically impressive jungler at this tournament. I think that is something.
So far for the ADC position, the ADC to stand out so far was probably Teddy.
Teddy is mages. The single best. He was the single best
mages. Not
ADC.
Sorry, he was playing Yasuo.
He was playing Yasuo, but he played Kalista once.
Yeah,
his Kalista was disgusting too. So I think he was. If I have to rank the ADCs, I think Teddy is tiers above everybody else in this tournament so far. I think that Jackie had a pretty standout situation, but
I mean the LPO bot lanes have been really shaky.
I don't know. Jackie Love's a good bot laner. Like the reality is, I think that Jackie Love is just a tier above everybody, but maybe Uzi is probably the only mid laner ADC you can put on his level at this point. And I think Uzi hasn't even been playing at all, so it's hard to put him up there. And I again, there's times at which I think Teddy was substantially better than Uzi, but
and then Khan faced T1, faced his old team, and then he lost, but it wasn't his fault. It was not his fault in that game. See, that's good right there. Look at that.
Khan completely outlaned Kana.
See, that's fine. I don't see what's bad about what he did there.
I mean, it's not. This is probably his best matchup. I think he played pretty well against Duguri, but he was he was way worse in team fights.
Yeah.
Duguri
actually had an impact in team fights.
Duguri had a large amount of good engages. I think if we look at like some of the poorly done the poorly done choices towards the later half of the game, when instead of going directly towards the fight, he's headed towards the minion wave. There was a lot of poor mistakes on his point that I do think he was probably the worst player on. Him and Cuz were probably the worst players on the team.
So the first game of the day was FPX versus T1. Khan facing off against his old team. When I first saw this game, I didn't even know why Doinby was on Karma. I thought he only took it because he knew he wasn't like gonna mechanically outplay Faker. If he did do that, I respect that because he wasn't gonna win.
It's definitely not the reason. I think the reason that they picked that is specifically because they wanted they wanted to play centralized around the ADC. That's why they played a pretty look at they have 3 sources of sustained damage. They don't need another source of damage on this team because if they do, they don't have peel back and they don't have engage and they don't have any tankiness. So what they kind of opted for was to use the Karma. It's a really good engage pressure kind of mid laner. It helps you with the if you ult E, like you're able to get going towards the team. You're able to.
That's just a little too aggressive right there.
Well, no,
he's not even there.
Well, no, it's not even just that. Even if he was there, they engaged on the Gragas and then committed a lot, like too many cooldowns to somebody they didn't have the DPS for.
I think this was because people said like FPX looked really shaky this game. I chalked this game up to like you hadn't played a game in a while.
I don't know. I think FPX straight up got outplayed this game, and this is usually how they play.
Yeah, I mean they have mechanically worse players overall.
Like they got a lot of good lucky engages based off TSM. T1 not being in the proper positions. SKT was just not functioning a little bit like the uncharacteristic.
Can you make
uncharacteristic? There we go. We got the word. Mistakes out of like Teddy. Him overstaying in the bot lane was just not smart on his part. I think like all
that was bearable. Why?
Bearable.
What the fuck was that?
What?
They're taking this. They should just take the tower. All right, just back off. Why are you engaging? What are you doing? There's a Corki and a Callista there. What did I just watch? Like, I don't know. The LPL bot lanes have not been that good. Like, I mean, even on the worst team, it's really bad. But like this split has to be the worst for like the LPL bot lanes.
I think Jaculov was pretty solid. Jaculov was pretty.
Outside of him and Yuyaji, outside of him,
there was a lot of good. There was ADCs is still one of their stronger roles. Like honestly, I think that mid lane's probably the strongest role now. I think maybe top is up. I mean, top lane's up there. But I think.
But we do have the day 2 predictions we could make, and that is. We have day 2 looks weird because day 2's group is all a bunch of coin flip teams. I'm not even saying that just to sound cool. They're all a bunch of coin flip teams. JDG, Genji, IG, and Dragon X. Dragon X play like a snail. IG is on some days world champions. On some days they look like P5.
So what's gonna happen with this game? I think if you look at this right,
the first game is JDG versus Genji.
Yeah, if you look at this right now, like just think about the roster for the most part on these teams. We have Genji who has a pretty weak top side, and the best top laner at this tournament might actually be Zoom. And he's facing one of the weakest top laners at this tournament.
Rascal.
Yeah.
But then you have Kanavi facing Klid. Kanavi versus Klid is a marquee matchup for this one. If Klid can get them ahead early...
What does marquee mean?
It's the highlight. It's a big matchup.
Who uses that word?
What the heck? Do you not use that word?
No one uses that word.
Yeah,
is that
the
a
big
word?
Marquee matchup.
Who uses that?
That's never triggering him.
It doesn't. No one does that.
Oh my god!
That's like a league thing, and I've never seen it used outside of that. I don't know.
Okay, the must-watch matchup is Klid versus Kanavi.
I don't really care anymore. Use your marquee matchup.
Oh my god! And then you have Ygal versus BDD. You have Ruler versus Loken, and you have Lamau versus Life or Love Mao, whatever name he wants to decide to have these days. So I think Genji can win. Actually, I think if Klid gets him ahead, they'll be able to win.
I think it's again. There's a lot of coin flips team in this thing, but again, first.
I think the worst team is Dragon X.
Dragon X is not the worst team here.
They play like literal snails.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it really. First of all, hyper aggressive. We saw most of the Korean teams are going into this tournament changing up their play style.
That doesn't mean they will, but I mean, if
it's not saying that, but
if
I'm
we're going
saying
off that, then I mean, they might have a chance against IG.
First of all, IG is going to get stomped in the bot lane. IG is literally going to get stomped in the spot lane.
Who's IG's
Both,
bot lane?
it's
Puff and Southwind.
yeah. I'm just saying, even Southwind is substantially outclassed here.
That's sad.
Southwind is like their best player in the bot lane, but he is still outmatched by the rookie in Dragon X, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when it comes down to Invictus Gaming, the mid laner is going to be Rookie versus
Rookie versus Chovy.
That's gonna be a pretty.
That's really good, right
pretty
there.
fun matchup.
Oh, we get a rematch from the 2019 World Championship quarterfinals between Rookie and Chovy.
Oh yeah,
that's cool. I like that.
I mean, that really wasn't mid lane centralized though. That was just roaming around, making Griffin look stupid and centralized.
And then you have the Shy versus Doran. I mean, the Shy's not been playing good recently.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
even on his worst days, is he better than Doran?
I mean, the thing about it is, you get a counter matchup against the Shy. You put him into a situation where he's not on the priority pick, and I think he plays substantially worse. I think he is one of the worst. The drastic change between strong side and weak side for him is so gigantic that I actually do think you could make this an easy matchup in terms of top lane for this one. At the very least, even if he's not losing the lane, he's not going to be impactful. If you give him a mid laner a top laner that's centralized around
early game impact?
No, well, not even just that. If they pick a top laner that's centralized around 1-3 winning, he is going to be useless if he's put behind. Especially if he has the worst matchup.
It's going to be really hard to predict this. So which two teams
I think JDG is probably going to win the first game, but I'm going to go with Dragon X the second game.
I'm going to go Gen G.
You're going to say Gen G?
I'm going to say Gen G and JDG get out. I think JDG are more consistent than IG, and I think that'll pay off more. And I think that Gen G are more consistent than Dragon X.
My big thing about it, first of all,
is... Because I think this group is all about consistency.
We're talking about who's getting out or who wins the first two games?
Who's getting out? We're going to do predictions. I'll say who's getting out. I think,
first of all, if we look at it right now, I think Dragon X is probably... I don't know. I don't know what you're talking... I don't think Gen G is better than Dragon X right now.
I'm saying more consistent.
They're not more consistent.
Because Dragon X is also decently hot and cold on a lot of days too.
I don't know about that. I think Gen G genuinely, with the top lane matchups, with how many good top laners there are at this tournament, I think the only team they're going to have a substantially good time around is going to be Dragon X. Dragon X.
They do face Dragon X, actually.
Yeah, Dragon X is going to be the only matchup where I think they're going to do solid in the top lane. I mean, it's all going to come down to how Doran plays. I think Doran has played better than he did in the playoffs.
Because they have to win 2 matches. So Gen G have to face JDG first, which most people think that JDG are going to win that. So if that's their first loss, they have to beat IG and Dragon X, and I think that's very possible for them to do. Because they beat Dragon X in the season pretty easy.
What are you talking about?
They beat Dragon X in the last time that they played.
I mean, I don't care about that too much. The last time I saw these teams, Doran was worse than Roach.
You also have, what's his name, Yosik? Is there no? It's freaking.
That is the big problem with this team.
Whatever their jungler is, hold on, look up right now.
It's Yosik.
I'm pretty sure it's Yosik, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. I mean, that's the big problem with Dragon X.
Dragon X has the weakest top side,
but they have one of the strongest everybody
bot
else.
Side. Yeah,
like they have one of the best top bot lanes in the tournament. Them and SKT, I think, have the 2 best bot lanes in the league.
And that doesn't even matter. The best bot lane got knocked out. That is sad.
Well, it's the problem with that is the fact that Kana underperformed a massive amount.
Cuz was a liability in half their games.
I mean, it all came down to decision making, which is in my opinion, is actually a big step up from what SKT was doing beforehand. Decision making wasn't actually the problem that Korea had before. It was more so inability to actually do anything, and they kind of tried to stall out, which was possible with the amount of wards you had before and with the upgraded tower damage. I think it was possible for Korea to do, but with the fact that tier 1 towers are completely worthless now and anybody can dive them, they're worthless. Like there's absolutely no way to stall out the game to the point where you're able to get to the point where your team gets strong if you draft a scaling comp. You have to, if you pick a scaling comp, you have to pick pieces, or they have to have
early game damage to,
or either just that, or you have to have like the ability to play around the fact that you need to be like, if you play Cassidy, you have to be impactful at level 6. You need to be around doing something at level 6 by then. I think that is a problem that Korea had before, but they really did take a good step in the right direction, and they made a lot of good. They actually won every single one of the early games. T1.
That's the thing, though. Even when they played fast, they were winning when they were playing fast.
Every single one of the early games, and it all came down to
decision making.
Yeah, improper Baron calls. They in their mind, it shows a good mindset. They actually were so worried about losing the pace that they forced things they shouldn't have. And I think even though that's not a good call right now, it shows that they're moving in the right direction. And I think towards the later end of the season, if they can fix up those problems, we're going to see a lot of the Korean teams go back to like top 2 and stuff like that. We're going to have a very big battle between these
issue with coming into the team, or she's not here right now, but Abigail, she always asks, can the LPL just run over the LCK? To be fair, the LPL didn't run them over. See, the thing with like people kind of misguide aggression is I can be aggressive, but if I have good enough players to stabilize your aggression, then it doesn't matter. LCK has good enough players to stabilize the aggression. It's LCK. The issue with the LCK is that can their players themselves change their play style and be aggressive? That's the thing.
The problem has never been the players, because when the players switch regions to whatever region, if we see all of them going to China, they always play well. Like, then well, not always, but again, a lot of them play pretty well.
We look at
Loken. We look at pretty much what's his name?
The Shy did leave Korea to go to China.
Well, I don't know. He didn't really.
That kind of counts.
He didn't really play.
Doinby went over in
Rookie.
Rookie, yeah.
I'm just saying, it's not that they can't change their play styles. It's the fact that these coaching staffs were so ingrained in this style that it had worked for so many seasons that they were refusing to swap back, and they thought the reason that it wasn't working out was some of the jungle changes, and it really did make sense.
Or
that
Coach
really
Kim,
was the change.
Or Coach Kim finally got them to play the way
Coach Kim never succeeded in China. I don't want to hear that.
What do you mean? He won a world championship.
I'm not talking. Well, yeah, he did. Win a world championship. I'm talking about stupid Damwon and all that stuff when he didn't go on a superstar team.
To be fair, he got Damwon to top 8.
You're talking. He never succeeded in Korea though.
I mean,
that's what I'm talking about.
Now he's succeeded in Korea.
Are you talking about with Damwon?
I'm talking about with T1 now.
Why, he's on the team now, yes.
I mean, he's got...
I don't think... The change in Damwon was already in process in the previous season, and he jumped on that train and was able to... he was contributing to them being a more hyper-aggressive early game. Mm-hmm. And I think that we saw a little bit of that change in this season with them, because they did actually play a lot more hyper-aggressive in the early game during this entire
So we're going to clock
tournament.
it in at 2 teams you think you're going to get out.
Why right now? I mean,
I don't know.
Okay.
Gonna make predictions? I'm saying Genji
looks trash to me.
I'm saying
I think they look
JDG get out.
I'm just saying Genji does not look very good for this meta.
I don't know. You could throw IG in there, but I'm not gonna bet on IG.
I think any of these teams can get out. I think the big thing about it, first of all, is that IG is a terrible matchup again. Like IG, I think their worst matchup is against Dragon X. I think that's going to be their biggest problem
because the bot lane.
They're going to have no answer to the bot lane, and unless they get because Dragon X, one of their biggest qualities is the fact that they draft moderately okay, and I think they're going to be able to identify the problem of if you can get a weak side pick onto the Shy. I think if he's not
give him like Orin or something.
No, not Orin.
Don't
give him Orin. No.
Give him Vladimir.
No, you don't give him good things. You're gonna pick. You essentially pick him.
Let me see what someone.
You priority pick either the top lane or you save the blind pick for them.
I would give him like Vladimir or Jace.
I don't like either one of those things on him.
Guys, he doesn't like anything I ever suggest.
You give them Jace, he's literally gonna run over the top lane. That's
give him Kennen.
Why? I mean, Kennen actually he does pretty poorly on Kennen.
He usually always plays poorly on Kennen though. For some
it's not reason. Always. I mean, you're talking about the during the Team Liquid series back then. He
generally just doesn't play Kennen very well.
Like, he played on hit Kennen. He plays AP Kennen pretty okay. But I think it all comes down to the fact that if you can get a priority pick onto the proper people, I think that Team 1 can win. I mean, not Team 1. Whatever team's name is. I think that Dragon X can actually win that pretty handily because they just without that secondary carry, which they don't have a secondary carry, they're not going to be able to take out Deft, and Deft is going to win this bot lane. I just even with a counter matchup onto the proper teams, I don't see Deft losing this matchup, because he has the better support on top of it. Like
Kira, good lord.
I think pretty much all you got to do is ban Nautilus. That's my big thing. Keep Nautilus out of the Chinese support's hands because I think their level of play downgrades drastically once it's not in their hands. I think they don't play as well.
Or don't give them Yuumi.
Yuumi is just somebody that if they don't have it, like Yuumi only works if you have an Olaf on your team, somebody towards that, a tanky bruiser that can run with him, or extremely hyper aggressive, extremely hyper carry player, as in like a good mid laner like they did with Knight. You have to have one of the two functions on that team, or Yuumi doesn't really do that well towards the later half of the game. Like, Yuumi is not in and of herself a great champion. She is just a supplementary champion to a good player.
Well, it's weird though. Imagine if both the Chinese team gets out and all the LCK teams are knocked out. That would be a crazy time.
I don't care. I mean, I was pretty happy with the performance on SKT's part. I think that they really could have went 3-0, and they ended up 1-2, and that's just unfortunate.
It's weird though because they played fast and lost.
What's up? They won one of the games. What? There's no way JD lose unless they outplay themselves. I mean, I think there's a lot of overestimating on JD's part. I think they actually should have. They didn't play that well in the FPX series, in my opinion. I think that FPX played a style that doesn't actually work.
And they
for
played
them.
Gimgoon.
No, that too. I think that was a big problem too. They played a style that didn't actually function well, for them at least. They tried to play more of a less proactive early game. They didn't even make ganks in most of the games until post 20 minutes, which is not something FPX has ever done in my life and that I've seen.
That was just the weirdest FPX I've ever seen. They do nothing early.
JDG, on. I still think that there's teams in China that can contest them. They're not the single best team. I don't think they just have the best players. I think that is what it comes down to. I think they are the single best on paper team. Mm-hmm. But I think if it comes down to it, they do have a lot of weak points on this team. Well, not really a lot. I mean, they don't have any weak points player-wise, but they do have a weak-ish play style.
Level Mao?
No, they're more of they're the reactionary team. They want to get to the late game. Like they're still aggressive. They will react to what you're doing, but they don't actually try and make the plays themselves. Usually, they if they get to that mid game and they're not behind, they win the game because there's not a team in the world that has the caliber of players.
So who you're picking to get out?
I think I'm gonna have to I don't know. It's hard for me to choose.
These are all coin flip teams.
It could all.
One day they all look like world class teams. The other day they look like Victory 5 in Jin Air.
I mean, let me think.
Oh, side note, guys. IG's Lian went to V5, so his career is over. Just saying. But I think.
Oh, is he off the team now?
He's on V5. I'm gonna say Gen G and JDG get out. I wouldn't be like these are all coin flip teams, so like if I'm wrong, it's like what can I do, you know? But I mean, if you saw an all LPL semifinal, does that mean the LPL is still outclassing the LCK?
For right now, I don't disagree with that. I think that again, Riot is forcing the changes into a more centric around EU LPL meta. They are forcing it into that direction because that is their biggest player bases. Those are the two biggest player bases on maybe not above LCK, but the population of EU is gigantic, so it's more so the viewer base. I think when it comes down to, I'm trying to think. What's up?
That's usually when he's like wants to give him more points. He's like, I'm trying to think.
I really, it's hard for me to see.
These are all coin flip teams. You can't really have a wrong answer.
I think, I mean, paper wise, if we go by recent performance, I think JDG 100% makes it to the.
That's why I picked them too.
I'm gonna put JDG in there. My second team is the one I'm not sure about. I think that. Like JDG.
Are we sleeping on IG?
I mean, no. I mean, I'm considering them. All four of these teams. I think JDG did not play as well as I would have liked until the end of the season. So it's hard for me to say if this is the team we're going to get for the rest of the season or this is the team that showed up recently. I don't know. I mean, it's really hard for me to say. I think JDG is probably, if we have to look at it based on the thing, it's between them and top, in my opinion, for the best teams at this tournament. And I think SKT is going to be, like, by the time Worlds comes around, I do think they're going to be a world class, like, the single, like, in the top two. Because I think that the way they actually started transitioning works out really well. There's a lot of inconsistent.
Yeah, because I'm expecting that just because they started playing fast, they're going to be mistakes.
All I'm saying is they won every single one of the early games. The reason they didn't smash the FPX game is because somehow Kana lost a Vladimir versus Jace match. Jace versus Vladimir matchup. That just doesn't happen. They would have stomped that. Like
that only happens if you're me.
Against like two of the more hyper aggressive early game teams in the LPL. Like T1 did really well. I think they won the early game. They just didn't transition well. But if I have to pick a team that's gonna get out, I think it's gonna be JDG. And man,
these are some coin flip teams to save my life.
I don't even want to commit to JDG because I really think they're gonna struggle against the.
I think they have a good chance of struggling against Gen G.
I don't think they do. I think Gen G is not as strong as you're making them out to be.
I mean,
I think Gen G.
The easiest matchup for JDG slot is their last one against Dragon X.
I really I think maybe that's just purely beyond the top lane matchup. But I mean, that's another thing that they don't struggle. I think their worst matchup is going to be IG. The worst matchup is going to be against IG. I think that JDG might play a lot worse against the Koreans also because we haven't seen. This is the only team, in my opinion, at this tournament that is coming into a playstyle which none of the players have really faced this playstyle.
Yeah.
Like we got what's the name of the bot lane, but that's pretty much it.
Oh, Loken and
Loken has played against the Koreans, but that's really the only player that I think has played against the Korean style of play. So they might kind of fumble against this because it's not. They're used to staving off aggression, and they're not going to be. None of these teams are going to be trying to do that against them besides IG. IG is just like all around. When they're on point, I think mechanically they're as good as them. I think just the only difference is the bot lane.
So you're picking JDG and IG?
No. I think that I'm probably it's.
We've been running around in circles.
I'm talking about the teams trying to understand who I'm gonna pick.
I just can't pick Dragon X. They just have the weakest top side, and it is shown that the top side is very, very impactful.
But we saw the top how impactful it was against the T1 series when their top lane had no impact at the beginning, had no impact in the middle or end of the game, and they still won.
He had good ultimates.
He didn't do anything. He ended up being able to kill Vladimir because he got a massive amount of Mortal Reminder and damage. Like, Vladimir literally can't win eventually. It's eventually going to go in his favor.
Also, it was shown having a weaker jungler in the previous day did matter. Or a jungler that just couldn't put it together. I just don't think Yosik is probably the weakest jungler in the tournament.
That's my big thing as to why I don't want to commit to Dragon X because Yosik.
And
I can blow off the top lane. I really don't care too much about Doran. Doran can put it together sometimes. But Yosik has never been good. Yosik is literally going to play Trundle every single game this tournament.
Or they will give him Olaf.
He's going to play a bruiser champion. He's not going to play anything else.
Or he'll get Lee Sin and then feed.
He's not going to get Lee Sin.
Or Graves.
They're not going to put him on Graves either. Graves is really solid right now, but I don't think they're going to put him on it because he's just... God,
this man is straight up committing to JDG and Genji.
Yeah, after all this time, I might actually go with Genji.
We're back to the same start.
It's just... Like,
IG is so coin flippy. I wanted to pick IG too, but like the last series was so bad. The last two series were so bad.
I can see any four of these teams making it out. I can see any combination of this stuff happening. That's my big problem because I don't think any of these four. I don't think any of the top 6 Korean and Chinese teams are much different than the rest of them. I think all of them are pretty universally pretty close in skill wise, but. That really doesn't matter too much because as it stands right now, I think unless Dragon X has Genji has swapped their playstyle, they're going to get ran over in the beginning of the game. And I mean, Clid is hyper aggressive, and he can change the pace at which Genji actually plays. So I'm gonna go with JDG Genji even after disagreeing with you all this time.
No, if you pick mine, then you're gonna blame me that we lost predictions.
I don't care about who picked it. I just like. It all comes down to the top lane and jungle difference in Dragon X.
Dragon X have CV Max.
I don't care about coaches at all.
IG have Ning. Does that make up for anything?
Ning, I mean, that's why I think they could make it to the what's it called? Because Ning
could just pop off one day.
Yeah, but I mean, JDG.
I'm just saying JDG and Genji. Those are my picks. I think they have the best solid foundations of consistency over the other two.
Consistency doesn't matter. Consistency
in this group it does because they're all 50-50 teams.
Literally is the opposite of what matters because you need pop off. And at this point in time, I think they pop off. All these teams pop off more than they
Clid, who can pop off. But BDD can pop off. He popped off only in the whole split.
BDD is not going to pop off against Rookie. I promise you.
Rogue Rookie and...
You don't know. I'm going to swap up my choices. I'm going.
He's gonna choose the other two. So that means if they do win,
I actually am going with the other two. I'm going with Invictus Gaming and Dragon X.
If you lose, I'm gonna laugh at you.
Because Dragon X is the single only team in the world with their specific playstyle, and JDG has no idea how to deal with that. JDG again, I don't think. Because JDG scales into the late game. That the more that I'm thinking about it. The more that I think about it, JDG scales into the late game, and that the one team that's not going to work against because they have the single best late game scaling team is Dragon X, because JDG is going to get stomped in the late game against Dragon X, even if they have the better players most of the team around, because Deft is so much better than Loken, it doesn't matter. Even though Loken is a solid player, Deft is better than every one of the players on JDG in my opinion. Maybe Zoom is comparable, but I still think
Zoom and Kanavi?
I think he's better. Kanavi has been solid pretty well, but I don't think... I mean... Even Kanavi's level of play was nowhere near the level of play as what we could say as Tarzan the previous season.
I mean, but that's not...
It's not saying much, but what I'm saying is Deft has been comparable to all these people in the previous seasons and been considered better than a lot.
All
of
they
them.
have is Chovy and Deft and Kira.
That is
but the top side
more than enough. What I'm saying is the way team comps work is late game is reliant mostly on either is reliant first on against ADCs. ADCs are the single most important key to a comp out of everybody. ADCs and then centralized around that. If you don't have a good ADC, it's reliant on a good mid laner, and both of these teams have solid mid laners.
That's the thing. Yeah, and Yagao is weaker than Chovy.
I think so. Actually, I think Chovy is substantially better.
So after all this time, you're like, I'm
after
just
all
going with
this
the
time,
other two.
No, because the fact that they're not going to punish even Zoom, even though he's better than what's it called, they're not going to build 1-3.
Okay, so
they're not going to build.
What's the point of picking IG then?
I
see the point for Dragon X.
No, I'm coming down to. I'll get to it in a little bit. I think that I'm gonna emphasize what I think of the strengths of Dragon X are. I think that it comes down to the fact that I think Dragon X. Okay, Dragon X is substantially better in terms of this, like in terms of playing the late game because they have the better pieces that scale towards the late game. And JDG is not going to try and close out the game because they're less aggressive than most of the pretty much every one of the teams. If we built on the fact that SKT played hyper aggressive, most of the teams in this tournament play a little bit more aggressive than the JDG does. So I think they're going to lose against Dragon X. I think they're going to lose against Invictus Gaming because they usually don't prioritize a top lane like ban against this team. They usually do they usually try and let what's his name. They don't prioritize a counter pick. They just kind of pick for him. So I think they're going to lose because they're going to disassociate how good the Shy actually is in comparison to him. So they're going to lose. I think they're going to lose the Invictus Gaming game, and I think they're going to lose the Dragon X game. I think Genji is going to lose maybe beat Dragon X once, but they're going to lose against both the Chinese teams. And then I think that's pretty much it. I think that's what is going to go down. I think the two teams that are going to go down are Invictus Gaming and Dragon X. Again, anything can change. I really am not solidified in any answer, but I do think that is what I think. That is a scenario that just popped in my head that I think is pretty decently likely, is that Dragon X's ability to play the scaling type of game, and JDG's pretty much tendency to force the game into the late game. They play that. They're like the Chinese versions of Koreans, in my opinion. They still are aggressive because they're China. That's just how the meta has shifted them or molded them to be in China. At the very least they know how to react to it, but they're not as aggressive as IG. They're not as aggressive as SPI.
Well, to be fair, in the early game. If one of your picks fails, you still have the other one.
I don't care. I mean, if I'm wrong, I don't care that much. It's just what I see coming down to it. I think Invictus Aim is going to beat JDG. I think Dragon X is going to beat pretty much both the Chinese. They're not. I don't know if they're going to beat Invictus.
I don't know, because Genji beat Dragon X the last time they faced.
They might beat them. I think that Genji might beat Dragon X.
And you factor in it's the best of one, so you got to factor in that too. Who's the better best of one team? Because Genji's best of ones are not that great.
There's no better best of one teams. None of these teams play best of ones.
Well, I mean, factoring into a best of three, who usually wins the first game.
I don't know. I don't care about that. I think that what it comes down to, I think it's going to be Dragon X versus versus Invictus Gaming. I think those are the two teams that are going to be out. And I gave pretty okay point. I don't think it's great.
So you have three. There's gonna be 3 LPL teams and 1 LCK team. That's crazy. That means how far is the LCK? This is top 4 LCK versus top 4 LPL.
I mean, top 3. There's
top
2
3?
of each, and yes, there's only
2 of each.
There's 4 teams in each.
You said top 3.
You said top 4.
Yeah, it's top 4 from both regions.
It is top 4. I said
Good
top
Lord.
3. I counted the 8 teams. I counted the 8 teams, and I said,
"Oh my god,
you're right." I don't know how to count, apparently.
All right, time to move on to TSM stuff. TSM had a lot of off-season drama. I never got to even had a chance to ask. What did you think about the TSM stuff?
I don't care. I don't care. I think the way they treated Dardoch. First of all, they went to the situation of leaking it onto the thing. That was a mistake. It's whatever. And then they went to the point of saying
the stream conversation she had.
Yeah, she made a mistake. She shouldn't talk to him. But again, most people just do that behind doors, and I really wouldn't blame him for it. But they did it inside of the and that affected Dardoch pretty poorly. But it's what it happens sometimes. I think what the next part that happened were in terms of this happened. So instead of kind of just admitting to it and saying I'm sorry, they kind of leaked the situation of Dardoch was toxic to try and cover up the mistake of. Instead of they wanted to make it look like they weren't the bad guys for treating him like this, so it would shift the blame. But honestly, That was my least favorite part of the situation. I mean, TSM in general has been one of the worst organized organizations in the league, and they did not do a good job in this situation. Like, they didn't do a good job in any portion of it. I mean, it comes to, like, it's all a bunch of 20-year-olds trying to run a pretty multi-million-dollar corporation, and that's why it's just not functioning well.
Pretty professional business in TSM.
Why are you doing this?
No, just having something to play.
Of what?
Just having some games up. But I don't know. Let me see how it starts. So, I mean, to be fair, you could look at it from TSM's point of view. The team was uncoordinated most of the split, honestly. Like, Dardoch would only gank for Broken Blade. Never really ever appeared mid. Never ever appeared bot. Maybe once in a while.
He went bot a pretty substantial amount. He probably went top 75% of the time, bot 25% of the time, and you don't go mid. Like, no one ever ganks for mid.
Yeah.
No, most of the regions just ignore it.
It's hard to really judge him. Like,
I think Dardoch played. I honestly think Dardoch is probably, in terms of, like, people look at KDAs, look at execution, whatever leads up to a kill, but there was a lot of good decision making. No, that's stupid, and that's what happens when
happens to the play.
No, that's what happens when a bunch of people who don't understand the game to the fullest capacity, who don't actually play the game, try and interpret it. It doesn't work on what's it called? Like, because you can do that in basketball, but a lot of the basketball players, all of them have played basketball at a decently high level. These players, and then the people who view basketball at home and stuff, they've been watching it for decades. There's a lot of people who've been watching it for 3 to 5 years, who are trying to understand it to the same extent that a lot of these professional players, and they don't take in consideration anything but successful moves. Like, good decision making that doesn't pan out is not always the fault of the person who committed to it. Like, I think that Dardoch made a lot of good choices inside of this series that didn't pan out, forced out a lot of summoners, forced out a lot of stuff in terms of his ganks.
He got a lot of early game leads.
He was the only hyper aggressive person in the FlyQuest versus TSM series. He's the only person pushing the pace of the game. Like, Santorin, Power of Evil, all of these people. I think Power of Evil actually was the worst mid laner out of the two. Like, he was the worst mid laner out of Bjergsen and Power of Evil till later on in the series when I think Power of Evil started playing poorly. I mean, when Bjergsen started playing poorly when he wasn't on Victor. I think that I didn't like the choice. I think there was a lot of mistakes that could have been picked up in the team if just they learned how to coordinate a little bit better. There was a lot of good decision making out of it. Like, it was a lot of mechanical mistakes on Dardoch's point. So I think it was more that than anything.
Here's the most of it. If you guys haven't followed, if you guys been kind of living under a rock. So what was said was that he kind of blew up in like around week 2 or 3, but they didn't say anything. They thought it was going to get better. They did their whole, the coaches that work with the players like that. They thought it could get better. Dardoch's role in TSM Legends got smaller. Other people's roles got bigger as it was in their content. You could see that. But then when it came to playoffs, they thought they could make a run for it. And, I mean, to be fair, they got 4th. That's not bad, per se. But, I don't know. I was under the impression that they should have just given him another chance. Because if you got 4th, it's highly likely you'd probably get further.
It's not only just that. The only
split.
reason they didn't get 2nd place is because of how poorly Broken Blade played that series, which is not going to happen consistently.
Well, I mean, they at worst would have got 3rd if they lost to EDG.
No, they would have beat FlyQuest, and I don't think EDG was going to beat anybody the way they were playing.
So you think if they beat FlyQuest in this series, they would have got 2nd place on the split?
Yeah.
They were too disjointed to beat Cloud9. They weren't going to beat Cloud9.
I don't care about that. I mean, Cloud9...
It was just like, they had a good chance of making 2nd place. I think that a lot of people were saying, well, if you have synergy right now with this guy, then why not just keep this guy going?
They don't have synergy, obviously. But the problem is that the fact that you replaced one of the most important roles with somebody who has shown himself to be pretty poor in pretty much every aspect of the game.
So for you TSM fans, Spica is going to be the jungler for the 2020 summer LCS split. Yikes. I mean, he's not that bad, personally.
He's very bad. He's extremely terrible. He's shown no good qualities in the times that he's played. But
I mean,
I don't care
how many games have we seen out of him?
It doesn't matter.
We saw 6, 5, 4. We saw 10 games out of him.
That's a lot of. First of all, that's a lot, and second of all, it doesn't matter how many games you see anybody. If you could see a few games, and you could pretty much base off how well they're playing based off the fact of their decision making. And if it doesn't pan out, that's fine. But he showed no good qualities of a jungler. Even it wasn't bad mistakes. It was the fact that he really just had no ability to
no pop-up potential.
No, it's just he didn't show something I would see out of a middle class jungler.
So he didn't even show Santorin qualities.
Santorin's fine. What's wrong with you? You still
he didn't show Blabber qualities, is what you're saying.
I hate Blabber.
Good lord. Oh my god.
Blabber is the most overappreciated jungler in the league by far.
Yikes.
It's not even a
if
question.
If Dardoch was in number 1, Dardoch would be the most overappreciated jungler.
No one put Dardoch at number 1 because he made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
They gave Blabber the benefit of the doubt because he was on the best team in the league, even though he really didn't earn it. He did not make any substantial. When
My
he played,
MVP was Niski.
I don't care. I wouldn't put Niski up there either. Niski wasn't even the 3rd best mid laner. There was a lot of Niski was consistent, and that's really all he gave him. He contributed to a lot of skirmishes, and we could see based on the fact.
Niski? Maybe Power Vivo and Jizuke?
That's the 3rd best mid laner, and I think that again, there was a massive amount of mid laners I could put up there that had higher highs than Niski did. Niski was consistent, and that's the only reason I would give him the best mid laner in the league, because there was not really a mid laner besides Power Vivo that was as good as him consistently throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
But he was never MVP. His level of play was never like MVP quality. He was just he was beneficiary to like how they played the game. Like he was able to contribute to a lot of the skirmishes that happened. And again, you can even based off the fact of what he said, he took a lot of the playbook outside of how what's his name played.
So a player went to go see another good player and how he learned from that. How's that bad?
I didn't say it was bad. I'm saying that's a
winner's mentality though.
You're literally not getting what I'm saying, so I'll rephrase it a little bit. I'm saying the fact is that he changed how he played, and the way that he played benefited a lot from the fact that he was playing the same way that what's his name is. I'm not saying that was a bad choice. I'm saying his success was not based off laning prodigies, and it wasn't based off roaming. It was based off
based off roaming.
It was based off the mini skirmishes. A lot of more. I mean, he had roams, but it was mostly the mini skirmishes he had in the river. A lot of these things were happening from that. Like he did. He was probably the single most impactful roaming mid laner, but when it came down to team fights, he was probably the 4th best.
Then, for TSM, we have these Twitlongers from Reginald and Lena. God, the Twitlongers were amazing.
You just changed the conversation drastically like that.
Oh my god, that was funny. What is it? Lena Twitter. That Twitlonger she released where it was she feels so was it no one wants dark or anything? That is definitely not it.
Okay, hold up. If you can, I will find it myself. I closed this down, didn't I?
Holy crap.
Well, I think that might have closed. No, we're good. We're good.
We're good. Oh, good lord.
Just put the word Lena. TSM and you're fine.
Good lord. Well, the last tweet was it's not that hard to not be a dick. Isn't that a contradiction?
Was recently. That was like a month ago.
No. This is not a contradiction of itself. I mean, I don't know.
I can't even move this. Oh, that's why.
Really?
I didn't see that.
Where was her Twitlonger?
I don't know. I mean, is it still on here?
Hopefully it still is.
I don't know, dude. All I can say is, I mean, I don't think... Why are we looking at? She's just uploading stuff about TSM, dude.
Oh, there it is. It's right there.
Where?
Right there. Just go down.
This?
Yeah. Good lord.
I didn't read this.
I'd like to make an apology to our community.
Don't read this whole thing.
Why can't I simp for her?
You're gonna read this and it's gonna take like 6 minutes, and I don't feel like doing that.
Oh my god. It's never been my intention.
You're just gonna read it anyway? I'm telling you.
Oh my goodness.
She's literally not... I don't like the choice of no one feels worse about this situation than I do.
That's the biggest meme ever.
She doesn't actually feel poorly. I'm terrible about what she did, in my opinion. I feel like it all comes down to the fact that she got caught.
And then now, fast forward, we have Spica, and
almost as bad as Blabber.
This man's crazy.
I mean, if you actually success attributed. I
the Niski thing. It's like, hey, I look at a better player, I'm adapt his play style, and you win.
Well, I'm not saying
like a lot of people did it for Kobe Bryant in the NBA.
Well, Kobe Bryant literally copied Michael Jordan's play style, but the fact
who was also the best.
Yeah,
and he started winning.
What I'm coming for with Niski is the fact that I think it all came down to a lot of his qualities don't translate well into the international scene. I don't think that...
I can't quantify that.
I can quantify that right now. Who the best mid laners that are going to translate well are not... Or he would translate the third best out of all the mid laners in NA. I think Bjergsen would translate better over to international play, Power of Evil, and Jizuke. Jizuke played poorly, so maybe not him anymore. But it all comes down to you have to have an all-star in the mid laner. Like, even Doingby is world-class in terms of mechanics. It's just that's not his forte. And if you want to be as mechanically poor as Doingby, you have to be as good as what he does. But Doingby is better mechanically and better at the roaming playstyle than Jizuke is. I mean, not Jizuke, Niski is. That's why he's able to succeed with that on the national stage.
But is he an Italian stallion?
I don't care. I'm just saying. I don't think that's the reason that I think that he had the most success in NA because there's so much on coordination in the league. Mm-hmm. But I don't think he's a better mid laner than a lot of them, even though he had this success.
And now Dardoch is on Dignitas. So Dardoch on Dignitas means he will be with Froggen, Aframo, and Johnson. And Dignitas recently announced that they're going to have Viper from FlyQuest. I mean
that's not going to be a good team.
I don't know. I don't think that FlyQuest went through some little honeymoon phase with Solo. I don't think Solo's that good. I don't think he even played that good personally. I think he had a few good games, but I think they let this honeymoon phase get inside their heads that Solo was actually a good player, and I think it's gonna show now that they have this with these guys, because I don't think that Solo is gonna be their answer. I think that he was an answer to a problem that they had, but I don't think it's a problem that was that bad where the point where you have to get rid of Viper. I think Viper has a higher ceiling than Solo does.
It doesn't matter about ceilings. I mean, the reality is he was so inconsistent, and honestly, Viper just doesn't play that well. I mean, I genuinely changed my mindset on him throughout this entire season. Like, I thought he would be a pretty middle class to higher.
Most people thought he'd be the next Licorice.
I didn't think he'd be that good, but I thought he could be pretty solid. But he's been a lot of the mistakes he made. It wasn't just mechanical mistakes on his point. It wasn't like he was making plays that could have worked out if he just made the right mechanical choices. He just genuinely was, first of all, losing a lot of lanes, which is something is not work-onable. If you're not good mechanically enough to be winning lanes, then you're not able to.
Solo wasn't really winning lanes either.
He wasn't losing, though. That's the whole point of it. If you don't lose lanes, it's possible. But Solo, like Viper was just losing lanes consistently to everybody. Viper was pretty poor this season. I think he can bounce back. It's too early in the season, and I think he showed a lot of good qualities in his first season to the point where I'm not giving up on him completely. But it was a really bad sign for me. I think that maybe it all came down to the fact that he played he was never able to be any of the top laners. He was never that level. And that's something that we saw to Licorice the first season he came over.
He was always the pop-off games come from Riven. People do forget that. Those only came from Riven.
I don't care about Riven.
But I mean, his pop-off games, a lot of them only come from that one champion.
I don't disagree with that, but that's a bad quality to have.
So with this team of Viper, Dardoch, Froggen, Aframo, Johnson, is this good enough to make playoffs? Because I forgot people.
I think
in this
so.
split, it's 8 teams.
You only have to beat 2 teams, and on top of the fact, I really do think Dardoch's going to benefit from not being on TSM.
Doesn't everybody benefit from not being on TSM?
I really genuinely think if Dardoch plays well this split, it really shows.
I'm gonna rub it in my face.
In your face? What did you say?
I think people get blinded by little good things out of someone and don't realize the whole picture about something. But that's just me personally.
Well, I don't know what tell me some stuff that Dardoch did poorly, and I'll accept. He made a few mechanical mistakes.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch the games.
I think FlyQuest, you genuinely can find a few mistakes.
The 100 Thieves series, he definitely made a lot of mistakes.
Well, he made a lot of choices that, again, uncharacteristic of him, in my opinion, in the previous seasons. Mm-hmm. But, again, he showed a lot of good qualities of a jungler. That's something you want out of a jungler, the way he played it, but he didn't do it properly. I think that's what it comes down to Dardoch for me. Also,
I don't think he's that type of player that they needed anyway. They've always wanted
literally
Dardoch.
Need that.
They've always needed a player like that.
And they can't function around it because they don't. First of all, the way Dardoch works is he is the shot caller early game. That's always how he's functioned. Mm-hmm. And they didn't let him do that. They tried to kind of push the agenda of this is the way they're going to play the early game based on their players in the lanes. Mm-hmm. Which is never... First of all, if there's 2 players that should be the early game shot callers, in my opinion, I think it should always be unless you're FPX and have dueling B, it should always be the jungler and the support. I think those are the two best ones to have. You can kind of function with a top laner. I think that is doable because of the TP, especially. But the buffs, the nerfs in the early game, it does get buffed later on, but the nerfs in the early game make it kind of hard to do. I think my big problem is, I think that the reason Dardoch did not succeed on this is because they didn't believe him at the helm of this team.
Or they didn't believe that his calls were great. That could be a thing.
Well, I mean, look at Optic's games last season. They were incredibly good in the early game, and they transitioned pretty well because Big took over as the shot caller.
Yeah,
that's how they should have played this, but they chose not to because they wanted Bjergsen to continually be the shot caller.
They want him to be some sort of like.
Bjergsen is literally the single worst shot caller out of all the mid lane shot callers I've seen. I think he's a great player. I think he makes some good choices, but I don't think as a primary shot caller or as the only shot caller does a good job. When Smoothie came over, he doesn't take shot calling advice from somebody who is not popping off. He literally attributes.
Well, he also probably won't take advice from someone who also isn't like he deems probably successful.
It doesn't matter. I mean, if they're not playing as well as him in terms of mechanics, he doesn't take their advice. That's just what he doesn't do. You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
He's literally the worst jungler the worst player when it comes to that. He will not take advice from somebody who he doesn't deem popping off right now. He thinks that is what it comes down to. I think. I don't know. This is
said certain things like that before. So
this is just what I think.
They think that whoever's ahead should be making the aggressive calls.
It's a bad choice.
Everyone feeds information.
Everybody feeds information, and the best person to do it is always the same person. I think it should usually be the one that has the rules roaming capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Calling down, like, Bjergsen, even when he's the head, should never be the shot caller. Like, I think that the reason that he thinks it is because he's able to make plays. I think you don't have a shot caller for Bjergsen. Bjergsen does what he does. And I think that's the way it should function. But he should not shot call the rest of the team.
I think that if they don't make Worlds this time around, they're going to blow up the roster again.
With who? They're going to keep Bjergsen.
No, blow up the roster in the top side.
They don't need to get rid of top side. They literally just...
They probably would. People said that about Hanser. They would never get rid of Hanser. They got rid of him.
Yeah, but Hanser was not nearly this good.
Like, they do have a top 3 top laner.
They have extremely good top laner. They have a really good mid laner. They have a good ADC now.
Coming in, yeah.
I think that the support, even Kaba was pretty solid. I think they could have made it, and it all comes down to not players. And it's obvious. They have good players. Every one of them, when you talk about them, they're like, oh, they weren't that bad, or they were pretty solid in their role. And that's the crazy thing to me. Every single one of the players on that team could have been considered like that. But the reality... They had the
second best early game outside of Cloud9.
They had the best one, if you're talking about just purely...
Well, in the early game.
The single early game, they had the best early game. I don't care what stats say, they had the best early game. The reason that the early game didn't work is because they tried to force mid-game transitions too early. Mm-hmm. And on top of the fact they're not good at mid-lane.
I remember back in the day, people said they played too slow. Now they play too fast.
Like, they were
There's
just...
no balance between these guys.
If I had to pick somebody I wanted to win the early game, it would always be TSM. I think TSM wins 9 times out of 10 in the early game. And it all came down to jungle aggression and early game laning abilities. Mm-hmm. No team had those two things.
Also, Biofrost kind of made certain questionable calls around certain areas of the game, but that's
I don't disagree. But he was still a solid support.
Yeah, he was at least top 3, so that's fine.
In my opinion, what it comes down to is, think about it. You Bjergsen, you consider him top 3 mid laner, right? Last split, right?
Yeah.
Support, he was the top 3 support.
Most of them were at least top 4 in the roles.
Top 3, top 2 top laner.
Yeah. Kabe was at least top 4.
I think he was top 4. And then jungler, in my opinion, I think he was pretty solid too.
But I was going to say like 6th.
Definitely not 6th. That's disrespectful, and you need to name 6. You have to name 5 junglers better than him.
More consistent.
Name 5 junglers better than him now.
I'll say Santorin. Sanskaren played better toward a certain part.
I'm not accepting that one.
Meteos played
Neos didn't really do anything.
So Neos actually didn't do anything. Holy crap!
I'll take the Santorin, maybe.
I say Santorin played pretty well.
I'll give Blabber. I'll give Closer.
Sanskaren did have moments where
he was not better than Dardoch this split. I think that it all came down to when they bounced back. It was
Closer?
straight off.
I think Closer just had a bad team overall.
I will give 3 junglers better than him.
There's Blabber, Closer, and Santorin. I think the only ones I can say.
Xmithy was not very good. I think it all came down to the team. It wasn't jungle prog. I think he really shot called.
Acadian had his pop off moments toward the very end of the series.
He just wasn't there long enough. On top of the fact that he really just was not. He was It all came down to the rest of the team functioning well later on down the split. But I think even if you don't give Dardoch top 5, I still think he was still substantially decent enough to the point where if you have top 2, top 3 in every role and then like a top 5 jungler, it's still...
Or even at worst, a top 4 jungler is fine.
I'm just saying, like, it all comes down to, if you consider all of these things, this team should have been second place. And there's no denying them. Yeah. I mean...
They had the best top side in the league.
The only reason...
Or had, because, like, preseason expectations.
I'm saying the only reason I think this team didn't succeed, it all comes down purely decision-making. Their early game won every single time, pretty much. Their mid-game is where they dropped off, and their late game... They did pretty fine if they got into the late game because they knew they just mechanically won team fights, but they don't know how to shot call. They're never going to win until they get to that point, and I think that they need to hire a world-class coach if they want to win. They need Bjergsen either needs to be he needs to understand that he doesn't need to be the shot caller. I say this a lot, but there's something consistently bad with TSM shot calling. And the only time they did well was when they had double Liftana and they had 2 shot callers.
So let's get the band back together.
So I think this is going to be a good pickup for them. Even though I think they replaced Dardoch with a worse jungler, I still think...
As long as he's just Grig for them.
I don't think that's good. They won't be able to do well at Worlds. And that's what they're shooting for. They're not shooting to make it to Worlds. No one shoots for that. You always shoot for winning Worlds, and then if you do well or like make it to
I think you should make small goals first. They need to work on
they've already made it to Worlds. They need to shoot always your goal. You don't build a team that is barely gonna make it to playoffs. Like if you've got 10th place every single season, you don't build a team that's specifically designed to get 6th place.
That's an upgrade in some teams.
You build pieces and then try and make these pieces function into the point where eventually if you get more pieces like them, you can make it a pretty impactful thing at Worlds.
Certain world-class teams that have won Worlds don't have all the best players in every single position. So even you have Spica in a bad position, you have 4 other really good players to work.
This is not the role to have a bad player in. I'm sorry. There's not a team in the world that is considered world-class that has a terrible jungler. Besides maybe Dragon X.
Isn't freaking...
And Dragon X has...
Isn't that the exception to your rule?
Well, it's literally...
Ning?
Ning is not bad. The only time Invictus Gaming wins is when he pops off.
Who else would be considered bad?
It's literally just Yosik, and Yosik literally is not... They have a top 2 ADC. They have a top 2 mid laner in the world. This is in NA.
Yeah.
They have a top 5 support.
Mm-hmm.
They have Yosik and Doran.
Yeah.
The reason they're able to function this well is because they have the best players in the position at 3 roles.
No, I know, but you just listed bot side people.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The only exception I can put to this is Dragon X because their players are so exceptional in the other roles. You're not going to get that from NA.
No, I know, but I'm saying you can take a loss and you have to take a loss in one of those.
You can't do that in NA because the fact that it's not only is the single most impactful role, but it's also we can't make the players to ignore that weak side in the jungle. Like Yosik is able to play supplementary junglers, whatever. He's still better than Spica on top of that. But it all comes down to with the
that should be a tweet.
What?
Spica's better than Yosik.
I don't. Well,
that sounds like something LS would say.
Maybe. I'm just saying, with how this functions, and Yosik was like even though we call him bad, he was ranked. I think if we have to rank junglers, he was top 5.
No, probably top 6. There's a lot of better players that
name
are
him
on
off.
worse
Name
teams.
him off right now.
I think. What was his name? Who was the on Fleek? I think still looks better.
Yeah, on Fleek looked trash this split. Tarzan looked trash this split. Like there were better junglers in the league, they just didn't play better than him.
Yeah. I think he was just a beneficiary of the better junglers.
I genuinely think no. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think usually
Spirit of all people who's been washed up since like season 4 looks better than that guy.
Well, did you watch it? Spirit was fine even when he went to EU. He looked fine. Like Spirit's never been bad. I don't know why you're determined to call him a bad jungler, but he's fine.
Well, that's pretty much it. I do have to head out in a little bit. What else I gotta say? Oh, last piece of news is Huni is gonna be on EG. I don't know how that's gonna work. I think Huni's the worst.
Huni bounces back every single summer split besides SKT. Like every single time he's came to NA, he's bounced back in the summer split. But I mean, I don't think it's gonna happen this season.
Does that mean you give up on Kumo?
I would never do that. I don't know why they picked up Huni. That was the worst choice. Kumo is somebody, I think maybe they're picking him up for the veteran experience that he brings. Maybe they
He
bring
played
him.
worse than Impact in a lot of their games.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they were.
He was arguably the worst top laner.
I don't disagree with that. I think it's a bad pick.
Why is there so many weak top laners this split? You had Ruin, Huni, Impact, Kumo. God, that's like 4 players right there.
You're replacing a bottom 4 top laner with a bottom 4 top laner. There we go.
That's some next level thinking right there.
That's gonna change this team around. The problem is they know they need a carry jungler, and Kumo disappointed them.
Carry top laner.
That's what I said, right?
You should carry jungler.
Did I say jungler?
Good
Carry
lord.
top laner. Yeah. And that's why they picked up Huni, because apparently they don't actually watch esports at all.
They like to waste money.
Yeah, apparently Evil Geniuses doesn't actually watch the LCS, so they just remember him from when
He was on Echo Fox or SKT.
when he was on Fnatic.
When he was
like,
actually
man,
world
he
class.
could bounce back then, but they just the reality is this team has the ability to do well.
They got third in their first split, so that's something.
I was not impressed. They were the 5th best team. They were not better than TSM, even when they lost to FlyQuest.
They were more consistent than TSM.
They weren't. They
TSM
weren't
were
even
a coin flip team. At a certain point, I mean, they're both decent.
Evil Geniuses had one good game in the playoffs.
But the last few games of their season, they were decently consistent.
They started ramping up at the end of the season, but they did not look better than TSM in the playoffs. I don't like to give consistency a goal, because consistency only gets you to playoffs.
Yeah.
It does not win you worlds.
I mean, we're not winning worlds anytime soon.
Stop saying that.
I think
You should always shoot for winning
you
worlds.
should be realistic with yourself and shoot for little small goals that end up getting to the big goal.
How does it get you the big goal if you always shoot?
So let's say dating, right?
No. What I'm saying is, if you consistently get pieces that are only able to get you to getting you to worlds at the most.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you eventually? Because you keep getting pieces like that. You never shoot for pieces that could eventually get you.
Even Cloud9, they improved on their roster. Like,
they improved on rosters,
and eventually they had top 4 at Worlds. They kept improving year and year.
I wasn't impressed with that top 4 either, but yes, I think that what it comes down to is Cloud9 literally consistently made gigantic improvements in the coaching position. That was the biggest choice for me. They made a gigantic position in. Licorice might not pay out, and he paid out. The reason this worked out is because of the fact that they did exactly what I said. You just kind of
no. What I'm saying is, like, you got to take your little pieces and work on them.
You don't work on things that don't have potential.
Let's just take it from a dating aspect.
So you're not making good analogies because your first point doesn't make.
All right, so if you can't get a woman, you have to assess why you can't get a woman. It could be little things, so you work on the little things first. Let's say you stink, you take more showers. Let's say you can't talk properly, you work on talking properly. You don't just go and just talk to the hottest girl.
Okay, so what happens, what you're trying to say right now, what I'm trying to say right now is you build pieces that have the potential to make it to the point where they could win worlds. Is that disagreeable?
I think...
No, yes or no. Just say yes or no. I don't really care about what your point is. I don't really care about whatever you want to say. Just, you do agree with that point.
Sure.
No. If you disagree with it, fine. Just tell me why you disagree with that, because you don't disagree.
I think that... You have to work. NA so weak, you got to work on the little stuff first.
No, if you build pieces that consistently can barely make you playoffs, and you're making slight improvements, you're never going to get better, because the pieces that you get are only going to be so good, right?
Yeah.
So you're never going to get better because you're consistently getting bad pieces.
But then at one point, let's say they even have these pieces that are really
good. These pieces, if they're barely good enough, you have to make improvements that eventually could pay out.
No, but let's say they do that, and you get all those players. The better players are still not better than the world-class players that are from the other part of the country.
Yeah, but you can make them... If we put... Look at G2. EU is not as good as Korea. I think that it comes down to that. I think that their players all around, if you look at the 3rd best team, is probably 6th place to 7th place in Korea. I think when it comes down to G2 can win Korea. And you want to know why that is? Because they put all the best players in their region inside of one team.
You know that NA did that before and still didn't get out of groups with TSM?
That wasn't the best players in the region. That wasn't a best... You know what? I don't think...
Balfrost was definitely not the best
Poncer was not the best top laner.
Yeah, but to be fair, they had literally... The mid side of the map was like the best in the roles, and it still couldn't do it.
It was comparable at the very least. I mean, NA just doesn't have the good enough players. That's why it didn't work out. Even then, I really do think they should have made it out of groups that split.
I know, but the next year they ran it back and still
they got worse that year. That's why.
I think they got worse.
They definitely got worse.
They had an easier group.
They got worse as a team.
But they had an easier group. They had Flash Wolves.
What does that change what I just said? They got worse.
It doesn't matter if they got worse. You have easier groups to make it easier.
What does that change? They got worse as a team.
Oh.
They got worse as a team. They don't. That literally, literally
but no,
makes
I'm
my
saying,
point. Makes it your
if it's too hard one year and they make it too easy next year, shouldn't you be winning if it's too easy?
only if you're as good as last year. If they were as good as last year, I can understand. They're not as good as last year. If they as good as last year, do you think they were as good the previous year?
No, because Double took the break.
Yes. What I'm saying is they just weren't as good as a team. They became a worse team all around. I think what it came.
Double didn't know how to flash on Kog'Maw, apparently.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what Doublish problem is when it comes to Worlds. That he's been the biggest reason as to why they haven't succeeded. Every team he's been to, except for last year.
Where he magically got out of groups and went to finals. That's crazy. Or for MSI.
I was just talking about Worlds, man.
That counts.
He did fine at Worlds.
He got out of groups.
I don't care. That was the worst MSI ever.
What do you mean?
Every team makes it out of groups.
Only top 4 make it out of groups.
They have to be 2 wildcard teams.
It's fine.
What did you just say to me? Fine. What does that mean?
Fine.
It's fine. What does that mean?
I told people it's a matter of TL beat IG because G2 is just gonna destroy them, and that's what happened because TL played like crap. I mean, I don't know how that. I still don't know how that TL won both splits in America. We just were just absolutely horrible.
What? I mean, what?
I mean, they just. I don't know.
They were literally just better than everybody because their bot lane was better than everybody.
Yeah,
and that's
I don't
the same
think
thing.
They did anything spectacular. They weren't like. They weren't even really dominant if you look at it. None of our games were super dominant outside of like against the bottom tier teams that they were dominant.
Yeah, but you know what? You're also the same type of person that thinks this is one of the best teams NA's ever produced with this Cloud9 team.
To be fair, I was denied that from MSI when Cloud9 could have won MSI 2020. G2. I mean, G2 was unofficially the 2020 MSI winner.
They were not an official anything. There was no MSI.
I know.
They don't get unofficial anything.
But they won the previous MSI.
That doesn't carry over to the next year.
It'll carry over to the 21 MSI.
No, they'll be like the last MSI. They won't say 2020 winners. Dork.
Godly. He is Europe no respect at all.
I don't have respect, no. Not for you at least.
Yeah. But when you're crying that the LCK loses to G2 again, I'll be laughing in your face.
I don't think G2 is bad. They literally... My problem with G2 is still the same. They're literally an over-exaggeration of how good
last year, their issue was that they couldn't play like macro or late game. They improved on that this year, but they got substantially worse at the early game by doing that.
Who did?
G2. They got substantially worse at the early game. Like, Fnatic had a better early game than G2 did. So, I don't know. They need to fix their early game again. Because it got better at late game and macro. It doesn't matter because you need your early game. The good thing about them was their early game.
The reason that G2 is going to succeed is because Jankos. If Jankos plays well, they'll be fine.
And now they have perks in the bot lane again. Oof. Oh, yep. I gotta go, guys. But this has been a great talking to you guys. Hopefully you guys caught the stream when it was live. Ryan was here. Thank you, Ryan.
I was here too. Unfortunately.
Where were you here? Wait, did you read that comment he sent?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it depends on all that stuff.
I don't think we talked about it.
I feel like it's up to the teams to... I feel like it's up to the team's morale, execution, champ, pick and ban, skill checks will determine if they'll win the game.
I mean, I brought it into the conversation. I just didn't directly talk to him.
I mean, that works.
Well, he's talking about the when we were talking
TSM
about...
Suck.
No, we were talking about specifically trying to... It was when we were having the JDG, and I was talking about all that stuff. They're all pretty much emotional-oriented teams, and whoever loses that first game is going to be pretty bummed out for the rest of the games. I don't know.
Time to watch Oceanic then.
All right.
Wait, do you watch PCS?
Why would I watch PCS?
It's League in the off season.
All right.
Wait, because I need to find people who watch the PCS.
I'm not watching PCS.
Come on.
No.
They're a bunch of TSMs. Don't you like TSM?
I don't. I don't like you either.
All right. See you later, guys. Hit the notification bell. Apparently.
You gotta really say that.
I just didn't have anything else to say. Oh, we're signing out. Right? That's a good one.
That was great. You did such a good job there. Good job.
Any off-season news? If you guys are watching this on the VOD and you get this far in, because it's more like I guess a trill talk type thing. He doesn't understand that black guy term.
What did you just say?
So yeah, if you guys want to be notified, there's the Discord link in the description. If you ever want to donate, there's the PayPal link down below.
What a sellout.
And there's a link to my main channel. That's pretty much it. Yeah, off-season